Hi, 8th graders. Today we're going to do lesson 6.3. I skipped 6.2 because this lesson and 6.1 go really, really well together. It's solving the same types of problems, but just in different formats. So all I'm doing is just flip-flopping these two lessons for today. And this is using equations to solve percent problems. Now, some helpful hints when we're solving these types of equations with percents. You have to know some of the keywords. Okay, so of means multiply or times. Is equals equals, and every time you are dealing with a percent inside of an equation, you want to make sure that you change it to a decimal. So make sure you get these few things written down because these are the most helpful hints for today. All right, so this is the type of problem you're going to see again for today. So instead of using a proportion, we're going to use the equation way. Now what happens is we have a sentence up here, and we're going to basically decode the sentence into symbols and numbers. And then that's going to tell us how we need to solve the problem. So if you can think of some of the things we know of means times. We know is means equals. Now I'm going to bring everything down else that I have. So if I have numbers, I'm going to bring them down also. This is 48 and this is 15. Now if I have something that's missing, that's my question mark or my D or my T or whatever, variable you want to put in there. So now this is what it looks like. I'm going to say D times 48 equals 15. Now we have to say to ourselves, well, how do we solve this for D? So something times 48 is going to give me 15. And to find when that is, I'm going to my goal is to get this by itself on one side. So I have to do something with this. And what I would need to do is I really need to reverse what's happening. So if I'm multiplying by 48, I need to divide by 48. Okay, so doing that, we'll cancel that out on this side, which will leave D by itself. Now the rule of thumb is if I do something on one side, I have to do it on the other side of the equal sign. And we're going to talk about equations way more coming up. But like I said, the rule of thumb is if you do something on one side, you have to do it to the other side. Now what this equation says is D equals 15 divided by 48. Now you can use your calculator to take 15 divided by 48. And this is what I get. I get 0.3125. Well, it's asking for a percent. Up on top, it says what percent. Now, if you can think back to yesterday, how do I change decimals to percents again? To change a decimal to percent, I'm going to move my decimal 2 spaces to the right. So this would be 31.25%. Some of you are probably thinking, wow, I really, really like the proportion way better, but I want you to give this a chance today because you might like this way better for certain types of problems. So let's do this one again together. It says what percent of 84 is 50? And we're going just to bring down everything we know. Oops, I'm sorry. There should be a multiplication sign. And this would be is 50. This would be your, I'm going to just stick with D. Now remember, my goal is to have the D by itself on one side. So I have to get rid of this times 84. And to do that, I'm going to divide by 84. That cancels this out. Timesing and dividing are it's like adding a negative and a positive. It's going to cancel itself out. So if I do it on this side, I need to do it to this side. So 50 divided by 84 is going to be a really, really terrible decimal. But that's okay. It looks like this. 5952. And I'm just going to stop there. It goes on like this. Going to change it to a percent. The only time you have to use this step is when it asks for a percent. Not all problems are going to ask for a percent. And I'll show you some next. So the only time you have to change your answer to a percent is when it asks for it, when it says this. Okay, here's another type of problem. It says 25% of what number is 24. So this is a different type of problem. We have the percent this time. So I'm going to start just decoding is 24. And if you can remember, if you have a percent, you're going to change it to a decimal. That was in my helpful hints. This is asking for what number, so that can be your D or your letter. Now let's solve the same way. If you're timesing by 0.25, we're going to divide by 0.25. To cancel it out, we want this by itself. Now if I did this on this side, I also have to do it on this side. And you would take 24 divided by 0.25, and that number, that D, is 96. So 25% of 96 is 24. Now notice I didn't change any decimals, I didn't change anything to percent because it didn't ask for it. Okay, so here's another example just like the one I did. 12%, so 0.12 of what number? So we'll make that D is 522. Okay, D by itself, 0.12. I'm going to divide by it on the side because I want D by itself. So 522 divided by 0.12 is 4,350. So 12% of 4,350 is 522. Here's the next type of problem. This is the third type of problem, so we're almost hit all the types of problems that you're going to see. This is typically the easiest type. I feel like a lot of times people use this when they're out shopping or they want to figure out what their discount or their, what they're going to get off on something. So this is a lot of times probably the most simple time to use an equation is problems like this. And let me show you why. 0.74 times 643 is what number? Notice how your D is already on one side by itself. So there's no reason to do any dividing because D is already by itself. So I don't have to do anything with this side. Really, all this is saying is to multiply these two things together. So 0.74 times 643 is 475.82. So 74% of 643 is this number right here. So I didn't have to do any dividing or do anything out of the ordinary because D is already by itself. Here's another example. 16% of 130 is what number? So it'll be 0.16 times 130 is your what number? Again, you're just going to multiply because there's no division needed. D is already by itself. And it's 20.8. Okay. Sam's Club is giving members 9% off of gas a gallon that day, and it costs $3.20. How much does a member pay for a gallon of gas? So let's read that again. Sam's Club gives members 9% off of gas per gallon if that day. So that day, the gallon costs $3.20. How much does a member pay for a gallon of gas? So there's a lot of things you can do here. There's a lot of ways you can solve this. And I'm not even going to look at A. Okay, I really just want to look at B. I want to know how much a member pays for a gallon of gas. Well, first of all, I have to figure out what 9% is of $3.20. Now, if I write that, I would say, what is 9% of $3.20? Now, I want you to think about how you just solved that in your, I'm just going to put that together. How did we just solve this? Well, is 0.09 times 320. Okay, it's just a multiplication problem. So 0.09 times 320. So it's about 29 cents. So this would be the discount. This is how much they would get off. And we're going to have a whole lesson on discounts. So they would get 29 cents off, meaning that's 9% of $3.20. So now to figure out what they would pay altogether for a gallon, you would take 320 minus 29 cents, and that's going to give you how much that they are going to pay for 1 gallon. So the biggest part is finding, first of all, what that 9% is, and then using that answer to figure out what you're going to pay totally. And like I said, we're going to have a ton of lessons just on discount coming up. Okay, so here's another one. I'm going to buy a shirt for $14.99. The sales tax is 7%. How much will my total purchase be? So first thing I have to do is I have to find 7% of $14.99. Okay, and it's just 0.07 times $14.99 is going to give me what 7% is. So 7% is about $1.05. Okay, so this is what 7% is. Now, if it's tax is going to be added on. It's not a discount, it's going to be added on. So for my total shirt, it's going to be $14.99 plus $1.05 And that's going to give me total what that shirt is going to cost me. About $16.04. The biggest part today is that they want you to make sure that you can find what some percent is of a number. There's a few other story problems that I'm going to go over with you for sure in class. This is an example of one that's going to be in your homework. And it says, I buy a pair of jeans for a total of $63.60, including tax. If the regular price of the jeans was $60, what was the sales tax? So my goal is to find what the tax would be. In other words, what the percent would be, because usually sales tax is a percent. Okay, well, my goal, I have to figure out what I paid in tax. I had it was $63.60. I want to know just what I paid in tax. Obviously, I paid $3.60 in tax. Okay, so $3.60 was the percent of that whole. So it was some percent of my whole. So to set this up, my percent's not going to be there, but my part is, okay, and I am going to take that times 60 to figure out what percent this $3.60 was of 60. So now I have to kind of work backwards again. So because this would be technically my D. Okay, I'm going to divide by 60. I'm going to divide by 60. So $3.60 divided by 60 would be 0.06. Now, if it's asking for the percent, you got to remember I moved my decimal 2 spaces, and my sales tax rate was 6%. I'm going to do another example of this for you when you come back to class for me, so you can ask me more questions about it, and so we can do a little more explanation. If you have any other questions, please let me know, and I will see you next class period. Thanks for watching.